she had me audition for her, in her office. She was interested, so I drove to Orlando, and I will never forget that meeting. She's like, "Here, honey, you're gonna take these two. You're gonna sit outside my office. These two scripts, and you're gonna read them through. You got 10 minutes." Yeah, no, that was Tracy.
Oh, okay.
Tracy with Brevard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to sit out there in my office, and you got 10 minutes to look him over, and you're going to come in and you're going to do a cold read. I'm like, I didn't even know what a cold read was.
Hey, welcome to the Word of God. I am Tony God. I am your host. I'm going to be talking to Aniria Turney. She is an actress, comedian. She is based in Atlanta, and you may have already seen her on some shows, Hightown, Chicago Med. She's been in the movie, Marlon Wayans' movie Naked on Netflix. She's been on Hulu, HBO Max. She's done a lot of work. We're going to talk about all of that. She's going to share some industry stories, how she got started, a little bit about her background, how she got some of the parts. And that's basically going to be how we're going to format the show going forward, with more interviews with entertainers and interesting people. And we're not really going to have a whole lot of politics, so if that's your thing, it's going to come up and we're going to talk about it, but that's not going to be the focus. There's already a ton of that going on right now. It's just going to seep into whatever we do, so we're not going to make it a focal point. This is supposed to be an escape. This is supposed to be entertaining. You're supposed to be able to relax and get something from this, whether it's humor, whether it's something you learned, whatever it is. That's what we're going to do here. Actor, comedian, entertainer, and I give you a perspective of the world from a God's eye view. As it's a play on words, I know. So if you're new to the show, so welcome. And I hope you like it, and hit subscribe if you haven't already done so, and beat that like button. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. As you noticed, I had to shave off. I shaved the beard, so I had to shave it off for some auditions. But that's the way it goes. That's why today's word of the day is showbiz. And right now we're going to jump right back into the interview with Aniria Turney. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, hit all the buttons.
Send a shout out to the comics that are working on the holidays. Like I've had to work on Thanksgiving on the road, that kind of thing. Have you had to do any of that, like the holidays?
Never Thanksgiving, like but I've had to do New Year's.
New Year's?
Yeah. New Year's gigs.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah, and I kind of like it. The New Year's is a little different because family-wise, my family kind of does their own thing. So it's not that, we got to get together. So my husband and I, Joe, we kind of make like, this is going to be our New Year's celebration. So if I'm out of town for a show, then he'll come with me. But it's been a while. It's been a while, obviously, since I've done a New Year's. Yeah.
Usually the holiday shows, they usually pay better because it's the holiday type of thing. The New Year's ones is pretty good.
It's funny because as I go through my career, there's so many things. The more you do it, that you're just like, okay, I'm not willing to do that anymore.
Well, you know what you want.
Yeah, you kind of know what you want, and you seek it. And if the people that you thought could give it to you aren't, then you just create it.
Yeah.
You just do your own thing.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about nowadays. You could like what we're doing.
Yes.
Years ago, if
example.
anyone said, we want to do a show, okay, how do we do it? Well, we have to contact a TV station or get an agent, or we got to get a big warehouse and get people and lighting and spend thousands of dollars on microphones and cameras.
Yeah.
Now you spend a few $100, you get a studio, and you're broadcasting around the world. So
Isn't that awesome?
It's a really, really neat thing. So now, what have you done longer? Acting or comedy?
Oh, comedy.
Okay.
I was definitely a comedian first. I've been doing comedy, I think, 17, maybe going on 18 years now. And acting came maybe 7 years ago now. And I started acting to kind of enhance my comedy career. Dean Napolitano, another comedian here from Florida, he said, people always want to come see somebody who's been on TV. And I'm like, I always think, me on TV, please. And so he was very encouraging and supportive, and he kind of walked me through the process how to get into it. And I hated it at first. I hated it because, as a comedian, when you learn comedy, it takes so long to get where you're at, to get good and confident, that here I was, oh my God, now I got to start something new. I don't like it. I'm not used to it. But then there came a point where it's like, God, I love this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I really enjoy it.
Yeah. A lot of it, you don't realize, I think like when you say you have to start over, that kind of thing, a lot of people don't realize you've already put time in.
I don't know if other people start out good. I have seen people start out good. Let me say that, because I do have friends that from the get-go were really good, and they're doing big things. I have a friend.
That's awesome.
She's just shot a film with Danny Trejo.
Nice.
And
Wow.
she's been doing it like way less than
Machete.
me. Yeah. So shout out to Samantha Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Samantha Gonzalez, all right.
But
One to look for.
yes, for sure. And when I started acting, I was terrible. And my first agent ever, she saw me in class, in Kathy Laughlin's class, and she didn't have a Hispanic middle age, probably bilingual and comedic timing, that kind of thing. So she had me audition for her, in her office. She was interested, so I drove to Orlando, and I will never forget that meeting. She's like, "Here, honey, you're going to take these two, you're going to sit outside my office, these two scripts, and you're going to read them through. You got
Kathy
10
Laughlin?
minutes." Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that was Tracy.
Oh, okay.
Tracy with Brevard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to sit out there in my office, and you got 10 minutes to look him over, and you're going to come in and you're going to do a cold read. I'm like, I didn't even know what a cold read was.
Oh, really? You hadn't done a cold read before?
I had never done a cold read.
Oh, my God.
So the whole time I'm like, oh, this is funny. I was horrible. And when I was done, she looked at me and she's like, "You know what, honey? You're a little green. So you're not going to do TV or film right now. You're going to do industrials and commercials."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she took a chance on me.
Yeah. And that's a big agency. That's
Yeah.
a very prominent agency.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. She's a fantastic agent. And then within, I think 3 months after that, or maybe more, 3 or 4 months after that, I got a script for like a film. And I'm like, what? She changed her mind, and then it was with Marlon Wayans. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, this is a long shot, And
Wow.
and I'm like, but what saved me for that particular film is they really wanted somebody to just kind of improvise. They're like, these are your lines, but be loose with them. And it was just a chance to be me,
Yeah.
And I don't know that I know that I couldn't have done that with like another script. I was too new to be dramatic. And I think as comedians, part of our thing is that we laugh at our pain. So we suppressed all those emotions.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny. And that's what was hard for me to transition to.
Just to get him out.
To get him out.
Yeah.
And so, to be able to cry or dig into something that'll cause the reaction that the script calls for was really, really hard.
Well, you know what? Shout out to Tracy, your agent, for knowing that you were right for the part.
Yes.
That's their jobs.
That's their talent.
That's exactly why that's exactly how you want to get an agent that you feel comfortable with, because they know, even when you don't know.
Yeah.
She's
that's
like,
true.
you know what? She might be a little new, but she's right for this.
Yeah. And, and I think because she auditions people, she saw me work a scene. But, when you go to a class and you've been working on a scene for weeks, is different than a cold read.
Yeah. Cold reads are difficult.
So I think because she saw that I was doing the scene and I could deliver, I think she took that chance. My cold read was terrible. But then she came back, I don't know how much, maybe a year later, to the class to teach auditioning class. And she pulled me to the side. She's like, oh my God. She's like, you've gotten so much better. And so then I started obviously getting more auditions. She took more of a chance.
Cool.
And it's been great.
And what's Tracy's last name again?
Danielle.
Danielle. And what's the name of the agency again?
Brevard Talent.
Brevard Talent. Yeah, they're out of Orlando.
Yes,
Correct.
they
Yeah.
are.
Even though they're called Brevard
Yeah.
Talent Group. I
That's
think
good.
they might have been in Brevard before.
Well, she deserves a shout out because she
Yes.
spawned Aniria. This is almost like a fan question. What do you like more currently, comedy or acting?
Oh, that's tough. That's really tough because nowadays I feel like I audition so much that I've gotten so deep into the acting. Because, with acting, it's not easy to book like it is with comedy.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
It's
yeah.
a whole different thing and a ton of rejection. But I get so focused on acting, I love it. But then a show will come, like a comedy show, and it's like, oh, I miss this, So it's a toss-up. It's really hard.
Let me ask you a follow-up to that. Do you feel like maybe you're finding a balance with the two?
That's still a challenge. I find it's still a challenge because a couple of reasons. With acting, you do tons of auditions and you don't know that you book until sometimes 2 days before or a day before.
Yeah, or like a month or two later
Oh,
after the
yeah.
audition,
Yeah, yeah.
when you've completely forgot about
Yeah,
it.
what did I book?
Because you have hope, like, you leave you have the audition, like now it's self-tape, so you leave your room.
Yeah. Like, oh,
feeling
this is
oh,
good.
or you don't know. Which usually is the ones that you have more success with. You don't know how to feel. I don't know if I like that.
Yes,
And
yes.
then you land it, but it's like you send that out, you move on because you got other auditions, you got other work to concern yourself with.
So I think that's a challenge because when you book a comedy club, they've got you on their books for months sometimes.
Yeah.
And
you could even book a year ahead sometimes.
Yeah, and I say comedy clubs, but I don't mean just clubs. I mean like, like your
Venues,
Pat
yeah.
Largos or any venues. 2 days before the show, all of a sudden, oh, you have an opportunity to be in a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Are
You know?
you available?
Yeah.
Let me grab my cape.
And, and the thing is, I mean, it's Marvel.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
yeah.
at the same time, we do stand up because we love stand up, and we're always grateful for people that give us opportunities. And the last thing we want to do is screw them over.
Yeah. But
It's Marvel.
That's the thing. It's like if you do this gig, you know that Marvel credit is going to get you more comedy shows, get you more bookings, put you in front of more fans.
That's right.
And when you go back to the guy that you had to cancel on, you're going to be bringing him a better deal.
That's true.
Like,
I never thought of that.
It's like, I know it. Well, I'll give you a good example of that. Dave Chappelle. This was years and years and years ago. This is like probably over a decade, well over a decade ago, when he had his the Chappelle show, on Comedy Central. He was just getting into that. This is just before that even was about to happen. He was supposed to come to the Tampa Improv.
Oh.
So he had canceled probably like 3 times.
Oh,
And
wow.
rescheduled because things kept popping
up.
off, and he was like, he was on a trajectory.
Yeah.
And it was like he was skyrocketing. But what he did was he didn't like wipe that booking off his books. He called the club and he told him, he's like, I promised you I was going to come to your club and do those shows, and I'm coming. He's like, we're going to do this. I know things are crazy now, but we're going to do this. He came in. Obviously the place was packed.
Oh, wow.
They had to add shows. I mean, he was just, but he came to and that's like,
And he complied.
and that's a big room for
Yeah.
for comedians, but for a star, that's a small room.
Yes.
He should be doing the theater at that point.
Yeah.
Arenas.
1,000 seaters, 5,000 seaters, 10,000 seaters. This room seats like 400.
Yeah.
It seats about 400 people. That's big, and that's a lot of people in one room. But he came back but he packed the place out. So it's like he didn't, as he was getting famous, as he was growing in fame.
Yeah.
Like now, you couldn't even put him in there unless he
No.
wanted to come in and to
Just
more.
because he
Right.
wanted,
Yeah.
just because he wanted to.
Yeah, but you know, realistically, you couldn't book him. You couldn't afford to put him in that room without the ticket prices being outrageous.
Isn't that something?
So yeah, so that's the kind of thing though. It's like, you know, you might have to cancel, but because of what you're doing, you know, you're going to be bringing that booker, that room, a greater benefit later down the road.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
the same way they did for you, giving you the first gig in the first place. You know.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's just.
But then if she books that Marvel gig, then my Comedians on Court gig won't be able to afford her.
I know
I would
this
always
is
do
it.
comedians on court.
This is our last. This is our last.
I may cancel on you 3 times.
I'm a one and done, Dave Chappelle. I'm a one and done. You cancel one time. No.
it.
So and that's a great. And that also goes to show you about how good Dave Chappelle is. how
That's,
good
yeah,
he
that's
is.
that's a lot of integrity.
That is.
And who, Aniria, are your acting or comedy like inspirations? Like, were you growing up, or like when you before you even thought about doing it, did you have acting or comedy in mind when you were a much younger Aniria Turney?
Yes, sir. Yeah, actually, when I moved, I was born in El Salvador, and my mom's Puerto Rican, my father's Salvadorian, so I'm half and half. But they met in college in Puerto Rico, and then they came to the States when I was 6. Because they wanted to pursue masters and PhDs at UF, actually. And as a young couple with 2 kids, because I have a younger brother, going to college, and then the English not being their first language, it was difficult for them. It was difficult. It was a challenge. I'm sure they were constantly stressed. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they always did every week was, there was a couple of shows that were staples in that household. Carol Burnett was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Andy Griffith Show. Those are the 2 that I remember most. But when I would see my parents laugh, because I know how hard everything else was, I don't know if that's where the whole fascination started. Oh my God, if people laugh, they feel better. And so I would say Carol Burnett, even though she's sketch comedy, and I love sketch comedy, she was one of the first people that really caught my attention.
That was a great show.
Yes, and and at that age, I didn't understand how difficult it was for women to do what she was doing.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And she was running it.
She was running it. I Love Lucy. Lucille Ball was
Lucille
another
Ball.
one that was wow. But then as I got closer to the age where it might be a possibility that you're going to do stand-up, my love for stand-up started when I was 14. At 14, I wanted to do stand-up, but I didn't know how. And that's when stand-up went out of the clubs and onto TV.
Yeah.
And so I started watching that, and I was like, wow, I don't know what in me said it, but I said, I know I can do this. I know that's for me. Of course, my parents said, you're crazy. No. And as I got older, John Leguizamo, believe it or not, definitely caught my attention. I saw one-man show, and I know that that's not stand-up, but listening to his stories, he was half Puerto Rican and half Colombian, and all these characters he created, I'm like, oh, so there's room for that?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tight little spot, but he really inspired me to actually do it. Because I thought, if he's
Cool.
telling those stories and I'm enjoying the heck out of those stories, I want to do the same, because I got stories.
And now he's wearing your shirt.
And now he's wearing my shirt.
Is that something?
Yeah, I would have never thought back then.
So I want to a last question on the film stuff before we talk about K-Funny. Tell me about the short films. You've been working on short films. There was one recently you worked on called Come.
Yes.
That's a Latin short film.
It was a Latin short film.
Now that one's won some awards, correct?
It's won a ton of awards. It did the what do you call it, film festival circuit, and it won a lot of nominations, some awards. Funny enough, just for the discouraged actor, it's a short film shot in Lakeland, and written by a girl in Lakeland. It was her story about when she moved from Puerto Rico to Lakeland.
Okay, wow. That's a
And
big
being
transition.
being Puerto Rican and the whole, awkwardness. I auditioned for that. I remember at my acting class, we were going to have a showcase, and one of my agents was going to be coming in, and it's always a good opportunity for them to see you again, to remind them, look how good I am,
Yeah.
and don't forget to call me. And she was coming when I think when this was going to be shot. So I had auditioned. Let me go back to the audition. So I went to the audition. And it was funny because I was going to play a grandma, and I saw two other grandmas that looked more like grandmas. And I'm like, the fat chance. So then I go in, and they auditioned us, and everything was improvised. They're like, okay, you're going to just talk about coupons to your daughter at the dinner table. And so I just did me.
Yeah.
And then, okay, thank you, bye. I was like, I blew it. I blew it. They didn't like you, and everybody else stayed but me. So I was like, and I'm like, they still got to do the other two grandmas. But I booked it. And then when I booked it, I didn't know whether to accept it because my agent was coming. And one of my friends said, at the end of the day, it's a short film, but it's work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
Exactly.
you're right. She's like, your agent's going to understand. And she was right. My friend was right. Thank you, Davina. And so I did it not knowing that it was going to be, that it was going to be such a hit, and it's on HBO Max now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah,
That's
it's on HBO
awesome.
Max.
It's called Come, which in English it basically looks like come, C-O-M-E.
My mom hates
But
that.
it's in Spanish. It's come. It means to eat. Yeah. So that's
My mom's
that's
like,
cool.
did they really have to name it that? Because
Yeah.
that was on HBO Max, and it just says come.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, Mom.
Well, you know what? It's going to get a lot of views. It's gonna get a lot.
Should have shown more cleavage.
Like, this is it. So that's cool.
That's good. And I'm just, it could be here or later, but where do you see yourself in your career, comedically, acting, or just in life, in say in the next 5-10 years? What do you see yourself?
Yeah. What's the trajectory there?
Good question. I don't want to give up anything that I'm doing right now.
Don't.
Yeah. In 5 years, I hope that I would have found a balance. It's a good question. I think I'm going to be humble, and I'm going to say, even if it takes 5 more years, I want to get my first recurring role in a TV show. I've auditioned for a few, came close with one. I got a call back, but I didn't book it.
Nice.
So that would be my goal. I have to book a I don't have to. I know.
I want to do the same.
Yeah,
So
a recurring role in anything. I prefer a comedy or something I'm just good at.
Yeah.
And I would like to continue the Que Funny. I mean, I know we're, with the pandemic and everything, we're kind of getting off to a slow start, but I would like to see Que Funny in the next 5 years continue to be shown everywhere.
Yeah, I think that that's one of those things that continues to grow. Obviously it's been set back because of everything that's been going on, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that's actually a pretty good show.
Thank you.
Speak it into
I love it.
existence. Yeah. Tell the people if they don't know what K Funny actually what you've been doing. 'Cause it's your creation, right? K Funny.
Yes, I'm so proud of it. K Funny, here's part of the crew.
Woohoo!
It's the white guy.
The white guy,
Puerto
my favorite white guy.
I'm half Italian. It's Largo.
Largo is his last name.
Largo, and the ladies love that name,
big.
Largo.
I know. I picked a hell of a time to get a girlfriend. Sorry, Lisa. Breaking up with her tomorrow.
Or change your name.
That's right.
Pat
And he's
Pequeño.
hey,
Pequeña.
not for nothing, but some of my Puerto Rican friends were like, he's kind of cute. I'm like,
That's it.
he's taken.
That's it.
See this? This is like high school. I'm always so close.
I'm like, wow. Always so close. But yeah, so Get Funny, I came up with that because like we were talking earlier, you get tired of like begging, book me. And I thought, I also wanted to produce a show that had a more diverse lineup. where I would hear about different cultures. Doesn't mean you have to be Hispanic to be on Que Funny. It just means talk about culture and how, because we interlive with each other. You know, I don't know.
It's
that's the right word.
mostly Hispanic. And
Yeah,
Latino.
it's a Hispanic-driven show,
Yeah.
but I love having, for example, Pat on it because I'm married to a white guy, and I'm going to tell you right now that a lot of my Puerto Rican girlfriends are married to white men.
Yeah.
So you put a show with a little bit of diversity like that, then they both can enjoy, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
as a Latin woman with a Caucasian husband, I'm sure there are times when he's like, oh, I don't want these Latin, you know?
Well, you got to think though. It's like so many couples are now
Interracial.
mixed. Yeah, it's like well, my parents, they were married for forever. You know, my dad Puerto Rican, my mom Caucasian.
Oh, I never knew
So
that.
yeah, so it's like, I mean, that's why I look Italian. So it's like nobody knows what I am.
What
Right.
is going to
Yeah.
happen?
So it's
That's
like-
so fun. I had no idea.
But yeah, so it's like they've been, they dealt with all of those issues of, like discrimination and all that kind of stuff way back in the 60s.
Yeah,
'cause they were married
that's
in the
tough.
series.
Yeah, and as a female and a Latina in the comedy world, when I started, a lot of people didn't relate to what I was saying. Where I started, because I mean, we're in Florida, let's face it.
Yeah.
And some of the open mics, people didn't get it, and some of the bookers, I wasn't their thing, and it was tough. But now I feel like, I've kind of grown into my stories, and I think, like you said, it's very relatable. You see more, the cross-cultural
Yeah.
thing. And I forgot where I was going with
Pat
this.
did the same thing. He goes out with blondes now.
Yeah, guys or girls. At this point, I can't be choosy. I love you, Lisa. That's why we white guys, we love the Puerto Ricans. They're great cooks and they got big booties.
Jeff Louise
Yes.
is filling the fourth spot.
Jeff Louise is going to be doing a spot on there, and I'm very excited.
And Jeff Louise he's Cuban, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
So we got a Cuban.
Yeah.
We got a Cuban, a Puerto Rican, Puerto Rican, Salvadorian,
And a cracker.
this guy.
We got a white guy.
A cracker.
In case we get pulled over.
That's right.
Yeah, you
Someone's
speak for
got-
us all.
Everybody, shh.
I'll handle it.
Pat, give him that white guy
They're gonna
voice.
think he's the coyote.
Yeah. He's running us.
Officer, no need for bloodshed. Just put the gun away.